Today we are going to discuss about the cell membrane. So before that, we have to know what is the cell membrane. So it is the outer covering layer of any cell. So there are many models to describe about the cell membrane, but the most and the widely accepted one is the fluid mosaic model, which was invented by Singer Nicholson in 1972. So this is the whole structure of the fluid mosaic model. So according to this model, the lipids and the proteins are organized in a mosaic fashion. It consists of lipid bilayer, extrinsic protein and intrinsic protein. Now we are going to discuss about the detail of the lipid layer. So the lipid bilayer is a quasi-fluid in nature. Now what is quasi-fluid? Quasi-fluid means that it is always flowing. If it stops flowing for a single second, then it will stop functioning. Okay, so we got to understand why it is quasi-fluid. Then it consists of polar and non-polar regions. Now what are those regions? These are the heads of phospholipids act as polar regions which are hydrophilic. Okay, these are water-loving regions and conduct water from the external surroundings. And in between the lipid layer, these ends, the inner ends, are known as the non-polar regions. These regions act as hydrophobic. These are water-heating regions and conduct electricity. Then comes that the nature of these lipids found in the lipid bilayer is glycolipid and phospholipid. Different types of proteins are embedded in the lipid bilayer or the lipid C. Now we are going to discuss about the proteins. The first protein is the extrinsic protein. These are the extrinsic proteins which are at the outer and the inner ends. So how can we define the extrinsic proteins? That the proteins which are found in the outer and the inner ends of the lipid bilayer are known as extrinsic protein. As you can see here, the nature of these proteins are glycoprotein. So this is the whole thing about the extrinsic protein. Then we come, another thing is that these proteins are small in size. Okay, we have completed the extrinsic protein. Then comes the intrinsic protein. These are the large proteins which are embedded in the lipid C or the lipid bilayer. The nature of these proteins is lipoprotein. Now another thing that it consists of microscopic pores, and this pore acts as protein channel which helps in the floating of ions and water. And the fluid mosaic model exhibit the flip-flop movement, but actually the flip-flop movement is exhibited by the intrinsic protein. So what we got to know from the fluid mosaic model, that it is a lipid bilayer which is quasi-fluid in nature. Then it consists of polar regions and non-polar regions. Okay, the polar region act as hydrophilic and the non-polar regions act as hydrophobic. Then we got to know that different types of proteins are embedded in the lipid C, and the nature of these proteins are not the proteins but the lipids are glycolipid and phospholipid. Then we got to know about the extrinsic protein and the intrinsic protein. The extrinsic protein are present in the outer and the inner surface of the lipid bilayer, and these are glycoprotein in nature. And we got to know about the intrinsic protein also, that these are found and these are the large proteins which are embedded in the lipid C or the lipid bilayer, and the nature of these proteins are lipoprotein, and these exhibit the flip-flop movement. This is of the fluid mosaic model.